All right, let's dive into something pretty fascinating, shall we? We're talking synchronicity. You know, those weird coincidences that make you wonder if the universe is trying to tell you something. And you sent over some really interesting sources about this. Looks like we're going to explore how this idea of synchronicity connects to the ancient I Ching. Ever have that feeling like you're flipping to just the right page in a book at just the right moment? Maybe it's more than just chance.
It's amazing how the I Ching, this text that's been around for thousands of years, can be seen as more than just, a fortune-telling tool. Like, it could actually be a way to understand these synchronicities.
That's a cool way to look at it. I was reading in one of the sources, the synchronicity key, that even the readings you get from the I Ching could be examples of synchronicity themselves. Like the specific hexagram you get, it's not just reflecting your own inner state, but also all the stuff happening outside you at that very moment.
Almost like the I Ching is having this conversation with the universe for you.
Exactly. It's pretty mind-blowing when you think about it.
Yeah. Totally. Imagine you're feeling stuck in your career, totally in a rut, and you decide to consult the I Ching. And you flip to this hexagram that's all about new beginnings and taking leaps of faith, that sort of thing.
Okay, I'm with you.
Then later that same day, you bump into an old colleague who mentions a job opening. And it's like the perfect job, exactly what you've been wanting.
Whoa, okay. That's what I call a synchronicity story.
Is it just coincidence? Or is it something more?
Right, so we're talking about connecting inner and outer worlds here. And that makes me think of yin and yang, one of the big ideas in the I Ching. You know, that whole concept that seemingly opposite forces are actually intertwined. How does that play into all of this?
Yin and yang are like the foundation of the I Ching. It's all expressed through numbers and these symbolic hexagrams, reflecting how everything in the universe is in this dynamic balance. What if those things we see as negative, like losing a job, are actually necessary shifts, towards something better?
Like the universe is clearing a path, even if it feels messy at the time.
Ex-
It's like the I Ching could be this tool to help us understand not just what's happening, but like the why behind it all.
yeah.
One of the sources even said that yin and yang isn't just some like abstract philosophy. It's actually reflected in modern physics. Like even at the subatomic level, opposing forces, particles, and waves are intertwined. It makes you wonder if the ancients were onto something.
Definitely makes you think. This idea that duality isn't about conflict, but about this dance between opposites.
And maybe the I Ching is showing us the steps to that dance.
I like that.
So let me see if I'm getting this right. The I Ching acts like a mirror, showing us the connection between what's going on inside us and the events happening around us, but it's also a guide, giving us insight into how to handle those events.
That's a great way to put it. It's not about predicting the future, like literally.
Right.
It's more about understanding the energies and patterns at play in any given situation, like learning to read the language of the universe.
Okay, I like that, learning the language.
Mhm.
So say I'm struggling with self-doubt,
Mhm.
and I keep getting hexagrams from the I Ching that emphasize perseverance, inner strength. Could those readings be like a synchronistic reflection of what's going on inside me? Like the I Ching is saying, hey, look inward, you've got this.
Absolutely. It could be like the I Ching is pointing out the qualities you need to work on to overcome that self-doubt.
Yeah.
Like it's showing you the tools you already have within you.
That's pretty cool. Now, this is where it gets really exciting for me. The sources you sent are full of stories about people using the I Ching to make sense of those, like, head-scratching moments in their lives. Any particular story that jumps out at you?
Yeah, there's this one in Living in Flow. It's about this woman who was feeling completely lost after a big life change.
Okay.
She consults the I Ching and gets a hexagram about stillness and reflection. But, she's feeling this urgency to do something, to take action. So initially, she kind of resists that message.
I can relate to that. So what happened? Did she ignore the I Ching?
She tried to, but every time she tried to force a solution, make things happen, she kept running into obstacles, roadblocks everywhere.
Wow.
Finally, she decides to surrender to that message of stillness and spend some time just being quiet, reflecting. And during that time, she has this sudden insight about a new path she hadn't even considered before. It was like the answer was there all along.
She just needed to be still to see it.
Exactly.
Amazing. So by listening to the I Ching, she ended up on a path that was like more true to herself.
Exactly. And it wasn't about the I Ching predicting her future. It was about guiding her toward a choice that was ultimately more fulfilling. It's like a reminder that sometimes the best answers come when we just, step back from the chaos and listen to that inner voice.
It makes you wonder how many of us are missing those whispers from the universe because we're just rushing through life. So we've talked about the I Ching as a guide, but it sounds like it's offering this profound philosophy about the nature of reality itself. I'm really curious to dig deeper into that.
Yeah, definitely.
What are some of the big philosophical takeaways from the I Ching when it comes to synchronicity?
Well, one of the main themes throughout the I Ching is this idea that everything is connected. Every single thought we have, every action, even those tiny, seemingly insignificant moments, they're all part of this much bigger picture.
Kind of like the butterfly effect, right? Where one tiny thing can cause this huge ripple effect somewhere else.
Exactly. And the I Ching suggests that those connections aren't always obvious. Sometimes events that seem completely random are actually linked in ways we don't see right away. It's like a challenge to look beyond the surface and see that web of cause and effect that runs through our lives.
Makes those coincidences seem a lot less random, like maybe there's a deeper intelligence orchestrating things.
That's a core principle of the I Ching. This idea that there's an underlying order to the universe, a sort of like cosmic dance. And those synchronicities we experience, maybe they're glimpses into the steps of that dance, giving us clues about how everything's connected.
It's like the I Ching is giving us a backstage pass to the universe's grand production.
I like that, a backstage pass.
You know, the Synchronicity Key talks about this experiment where a group of meditators focused their intention on peace. And they were actually able to measure a reduction in violence in a conflict zone.
Yeah.
Could that be an example of this interconnectedness in action?
It's a pretty compelling example, and it shows how the I Ching's emphasis on intention and action isn't just some philosophical idea. It could be an actual force for shaping reality.
Our thoughts are more powerful than we realize.
Maybe so.
So it's not about passively accepting whatever happens. It's about understanding that we can influence events through our choices.
Yeah, I think that's a key takeaway. The I Ching can offer guidance, but it doesn't control our path. It's more like a map showing us the terrain, highlighting potential routes. But we're the ones navigating the journey.
That makes me think of the Lorax process from Living in Flow. Listen, open, reflect, release, act, and repeat. It seems like being receptive, being present and aware, is so crucial for recognizing those synchronicities and then actually doing something with them.
Absolutely. The I Ching doesn't give us easy answers or a crystal ball, but it can give us valuable insights into the energies at play in any situation, helping us make choices that are aligned with our true selves.
It's like we're co-creating our reality with the universe. And the I Ching helps us refine our creative input. But there's another layer to this whole idea of interconnectedness that I find really fascinating. That's the concept of cycles in history.
Ah, yes. The cyclical nature of time.
The Synchronicity Key really dives into that, saying that history isn't just this straight line. It's a series of recurring patterns and themes, like looking at a spiral. Each loop is different, but echoes the shape of the ones that came before.
Exactly.
So it's not about literally repeating the past. It's about recognizing those archetypal patterns that keep showing up throughout history. Like fashion trends, they always come back around, but with the modern twist.
Right.
That's a good analogy. The source mentions all sorts of cycles, from astrological ages spanning thousands of years to those identified by David Wilcock, like the 539-year and 720-year cycles. By understanding those cycles, we might be able to better understand the present moment and what might be coming next.
It's like having a historical roadmap. Maybe we can learn to anticipate the turns and navigate them better.
What kind of parallels does the book draw between the past and the present?
Well, one example it gives is comparing things that happened in the Roman Empire to events in American history. The details are different, but the underlying themes and challenges are pretty similar. It's like certain patterns of rise and fall of social and political change keep happening across time.
So if history rhymes, does that mean we're doomed to repeat the mistakes of the past?
Not necessarily. The I Ching is big on free will and the power of making conscious choices.
Right.
So cycles exist, but being aware of them lets us learn from the past and maybe choose a different path this time.
We're given a script, but we have the power to rewrite it.
Okay, so we've got synchronicity, the I Ching, and cycles in history. That's a lot to process.
It is a lot.
How does it all fit together, and what's the takeaway for our listeners?
It all comes down to recognizing how everything is connected, this intricate tapestry that weaves through all of existence. The I Ching shows us that connection on a personal level, how our inner world shapes what happens around us. Synchronicity highlights those moments of meaningful coincidence, those little whispers from the universe reminding us that we're not alone in this big dance.
And the cycles in history.
They take that idea of interconnectedness to a larger scale. suggesting that even across vast stretches of time, there are these threads connecting us to the past and influencing the present. We're part of something so much bigger than ourselves, a cosmic story that's been unfolding for, well, forever.
It's like we're all characters in this grand narrative, each playing our part. But the I Ching and synchronicity can give us these glimpses behind the curtain, a chance to understand what the play really means. I like that, the deeper meaning of the play.
And the more we understand the dynamics of the play, the better we can play our roles. With awareness and intention, creating something more harmonious, more meaningful for ourselves and the world. This has been a mind-expanding conversation. I'm seeing those so-called random events in a whole new light, starting to recognize the synchronicities that I might have missed before.
That's the beauty of it.
It is.
The more we open ourselves up to these possibilities, the more we realize that the universe is a far more magical and responsive place than we ever imagined.
Absolutely. We've talked about the I Ching as this profound system of philosophy and as a guide to understanding synchronicity, but I'm wondering, how does all of this translate into real life? How can we actually use these concepts to make our lives better?
That's the big question, isn't it? How do we take these, big cosmic ideas and turn them into something we can actually use, something that can make a difference in our everyday lives?
Yeah, I think a lot of people are looking for that kind of practical wisdom. It's easy to get caught up in all the philosophy, but how do we bring it down to earth?
Right. Well, think of the I Ching as this tool to help you make decisions, not like fortune telling, should I buy this lottery ticket kind of thing.
Right.
More like having this wise advisor helping you weigh your options and get some clarity.
Okay, so I shouldn't expect the I Ching to, hand me a step-by-step guide to life,
Right.
but it can give me insights into, the best way forward.
Exactly. It can show you those hidden parts of a situation that you might miss when you're caught up in your own head. It can help you see potential problems and opportunities, those little nudges you might not notice otherwise.
It's like a cosmic sounding board for your choices.
Yeah.
But how do you know if you're understanding the readings the right way? There are so many different interpretations out there.
That's where the real learning comes in. The I Ching isn't a one-size-fits-all kind of tool. It wants you to engage with it, to really think about the meanings of the hexagrams and see how they resonate with your own intuition.
So it's conversation back and forth between your inner wisdom and the wisdom of the I Ching.
Exactly. And remember that Lorax process we talked about earlier?
Right. Listen, open, reflect, release, act, and repeat.
The I Ching can be a powerful tool within that framework.
It's almost like the I Ching is training your intuition, helping you see those synchronicities that are already happening all around you.
Yeah, I like that. It's not about creating synchronicities out of thin air. It's about becoming aware of those meaningful coincidences that are already there.
One of the things that really stuck with me from the synchronicity key was this idea that synchronicities can be so comforting, especially when you're feeling lost or unsure of yourself.
Yeah, it's like the universe is saying, hey, I'm here, you're not alone.
Right, exactly.
When you're going through tough times, it's easy to get stuck in that fear and isolation. Yeah. But those synchronicities, those moments of grace, they remind us that we're part of something so much bigger, something that's always supporting us, even when we can't see it.
It's like when you're going through a breakup and then that one song comes on the radio that perfectly captures how you're feeling.
Yeah.
And suddenly you realize you're not the only one who's ever felt that way. Or, when you're struggling with a tough decision and a friend calls you out of the blue with exactly the advice you needed to hear.
Yeah. Those moments can feel like a lifeline. And the I Ching can help us be more open to those synchronicities, help us tap into that source of comfort and guidance, even when things are tough.
This has been such an incredible journey. We've explored the I Ching as this tool for, getting insights and guidance, as this whole philosophy that changes how we understand reality, and as a guide to navigating those mysterious synchronicities that pop up in our lives.
It has been quite a journey.
We talked about Yin and Yang, the cosmic dancers, and we even went down the rabbit hole of the idea that history might be more of a spiral than a straight line.
Yeah, we covered a lot of ground.
As we wrap up this deep dive, what's the one thing you want our listeners to take away from all of this?
Pay attention. Notice those synchronicities, those little things that happen that feel like they mean something more. Engage with the I Ching. Explore its wisdom. And ask yourself, could these synchronicities be messages? Messages from the universe guiding me toward a life with more purpose and meaning? The answers might surprise you.
What a great way to end our exploration. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into synchronicity and the I Ching. Keep your eyes open for those meaningful coincidences. Who knows, you might start to hear the universe whispering secrets in your own life.
It is the big question. How do we take these huge, cosmic ideas and make them into something real, something we can use in our lives every day?
Yeah, I think a lot of people want that practical side of things. It's easy to get lost in the philosophy. How do we actually bring it down to earth?
Well, one way is to think about the I Ching as a tool for decisions, not like, fortune telling.
Right.
Not like, should I buy this lottery ticket? More like, you've got this advisor helping you think things through.
So it's not like the I Ching is going to give me a step-by-step guide to life,
Right.
but it can give me, like, insights on the best way to go.
Exactly. It can highlight the hidden parts of a situation, things you might not see when you're stuck in your own thoughts.
Mm.
It can show you where the problems might be or the opportunities, little hints you might miss otherwise.
So, like, it's a cosmic sounding board for your choices. But how do you even know if you're interpreting the readings correctly? There are so many different interpretations out there.
That's the cool part, where the real learning is. The I Ching isn't one size fits all. It wants you to think, to really ponder the hexagrams and see how they feel to you with your own intuition.
So it's a conversation back and forth between you and the I Ching.
Exactly. And remember that Lorax thing we talked about?
Listen, open, reflect, release, act.
Yeah, the I Ching fits right into that.
It's like it's helping you develop your intuition, showing you the synchronicities that are already there.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. It's not about making synchronicities happen. It's about noticing the ones that are already there, woven into life.
One thing from the synchronicity key that really hit me was the idea that synchronicities can be so comforting. When you're feeling lost, especially.
It's true.
It's like the universe is saying, hey, you're not alone in this.
Exactly. When we're going through tough times, it's easy to feel that fear, that isolation. But those synchronicities, those moments of, grace, they remind us we're part of something so much bigger, something that's always got our back, even when we can't see it.
Like when you're going through a breakup and then that one song comes on and it's like, it just gets you. And you realize you're not the only one who's ever felt that way. Or you're wrestling with some big decision and a friend calls you out of the blue with just the advice you needed.
Yeah, those moments are like a lifeline. And the I Ching can help us be more open to those synchronicities, to tap into that comfort and guidance, even when things are rough.
This has been incredible. We started with the I Ching as this tool for getting insights, then this whole philosophy about reality, and then a way to understand these synchronicities that show up in our lives. We talked yin and yang, those cosmic answers, and then even that idea that history might be more like a spiral than a straight line.
We did cover a lot.
So much.
Yeah.
To wrap up our deep dive, what's the one thing you want our listeners to walk away with?
Pay attention. Notice those synchronicities, those little things that happen that just feel like they mean something. Open up the I Ching. See what it has to say. Ask yourself, could these synchronicities be messages? Messages from the universe guiding you toward a life with more purpose, more meaning. You never know what you may find.
What a great way to end things. Thank you so much for joining us on this deep dive into synchronicity and the I Ching. Keep an eye out for those meaningful coincidences. You might just start to hear the universe whispering to you, too.
Follow Synchronicity Keys with Cecilia. For me, synchronicity isn't just a concept. It's the rhythm I walk, the breath I live. Now, let's delve into its hidden mechanics together, uncover the unseen forces at play, and align with the flow to co-create a reality shaped by synchronicity.